Welcome everyone to Live at Sundance. I'm Jimmy Conrad, arguably the best looking player to ever represent the United States at the World Cup. Give it up. Yep. And current faux journalist extraordinaire for Kick TV, which is YouTube's biggest soccer channel. And I have a passion for the arts, which is why I'm here. I'm here with you for the next hour to talk to filmmakers who are bold enough to submit their labors of love to the Sundance Film Festival, and of course, to show you all the action that's happening here at the festival, which includes premieres, events, panels, and all of the awesome stuff behind the scenes. By now, though, I'm sure you're wondering why I'm wearing a tuxedo, so I'm just gonna address this with you head on, mano y mano. I didn't read my emails all the way through, okay? I got so excited about being invited to be a part of these festivities, I just naturally assumed that I was presenting an award to someone. But then I was told that I wasn't, so I went out and bought my own great job trophies with the hope of still presenting an award to somebody and to validate this outfit. But let's be honest, what does it matter? I know I look great, right everybody? Yeah? Thank you, thank you. I guilted you into that one. Now, if you guys want to join in on the conversation and tell me how dapper I look or give me a hard time, I encourage both. Please use the hashtag SundanceAndLive and let your voice be heard. We will take your questions for our special guests from the movies The Notorious Mr. Boot, The Skeleton Twins, and Kumiko the Treasure Hunter, as well as Bird, Runningwater, Sydney Freeland, and Taika Waititi from the Native American and Indigenous program at the Sundance Institute. And if proper grammar is used for these questions, I'll consider reading what you have to say. But before we get to them and hear their unique perspectives about the festival that is all about supporting independent filmmakers in their storytelling, let's take a look at a video from Wednesday night's Shorts Award ceremony where the Sundance Institute announced the jury prizes and honorable mentions in short filmmaking. The program was presented by YouTube and can literally make a filmmaker's career. Wait, there was an award show here? Why wasn't I invited?
Now, thank you all so much for coming to our Shorts Award party. I tell our all the festival attendees that I talk to that if they really want to see the most creative and uncompromised films in the festival, they should check out the short films.
We received 8,161 films. We selected 66 of them.
Leave it to you guys to have a highfalutin awards event in a bowling alley. I think the Oscars should do this. Just to reiterate what everybody said about what an embarrassment of riches it was in terms of the richness of creativity that you all brought, and what an honor it was to spend my week watching your babies. Also, if you look closely, they give the awards and then there's a blonde woman who takes the awards back as soon as the filmmakers walk off the stage. So don't feel too bad if you don't get anything. For the top prize of the festival, we wanted to reward not only a great film, but a lifestyle of filmmaking, resulting in a seemingly impossible single-shot, direct-address film encompassing the meaning of manhood, war, and faith. The short film Grand Jury Prize goes to Of Gods and Dogs, directed by the Abandara Collective.
Thank you. Thank you, Sundance. Please come and visit Syria. It's a beautiful country. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming, and congratulations to all the filmmakers in the festival.
Incredible job, and a big shout out to all the shorts filmmakers whose work was selected to be a part of the festival. And of course, a special high five, fist bump, and butt tap to the short film Grand Jury Prize Award winner of God and Dogs. I have a great trophy waiting for you guys here. If you want to come down to YouTube's headquarters on Main Street and pick it up, I'll be here for at least another 45 minutes, so you don't have to run per se, but walking at a decent speed would probably be a good idea. Anyway, I would like now to introduce my first guests of the set, co-directors Tony Gerber and Maxim Pozdorovkin of The Notorious Mr. Boot, a world documentary film about the arms dealer Victor Boot, who earned the nickname Merchant of Death. The film is edited together with a DEA surveillance footage and home video shot by Boot. What is up, guys? Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having us.
Okay, so first question, like I mentioned, in the film, you have footage that was shot by Boot himself, including an incredible plea when he was at the Thai prison about how he didn't do it, he's claiming his innocence, and then his rant after he got sentenced. How did you get that footage, and how did you get that kind of access to him and his family?
Well, there's two different kinds of footage. There's Victor, what we discovered early on while working on this film was that Victor was an avid videographer. So for 25 years, he had been making this movie of his life. So very much our movie is a movie about this movie that he was making, and it's kind of a deconstruction of that movie. So that's how, yeah.
Okay, and so
and then we've also worked,
that access?
and we've also worked with DEA surveillance.
Yeah, this is a collaboration between a Russian and an American.
Right.
So you know, around a subject that's very hot button subject, right? So for us to gain access to the Boot family and to this treasure trove of home movies, it was very advantageous that we had a Russian face.
Right.
But to gain access to the Department of Justice and to the DEA and to all the surveillance materials, it was very, very advantageous to have an American face.
When I watched the movie, I thought, from an American perspective, well, the DEA's patting themselves on the back because they got this big-time guy, and then from the Russian perspective, they want to have the story get out so they can prove his innocence.
Exactly.
Did you guys be able to play that since you were Russian to get that advantage and you were American?
Yes.
Well, that's exactly right, yeah.
Okay, and so there was nothing else to it like that? And there was no, like, you'd have to pay any extra money? Or?
No, I mean, the whole process of kind of getting, you know, of getting the access and getting the trust, and especially of the Boot family, took a long time because he had been caricatured and misrepresented so many times and burned by the media so many times that they really didn't feel like it. But then we went in and we met with Victor many, many times in jail, met with his wife a lot, and sort of started talking about this film, started finding out about these home movies. So it was a process of about 4 or 5 months of just knowing that we could do this movie.
Okay, so why is the footage shot by Boot likely different from an audience, what they would naturally think when they'd see it? Because it's him at a wedding, it's him encouraging his wife to spit off the Eiffel Tower. It's very friendly.
There's an incredible intimacy, right? Because when you make home movies, you're doing it for yourself. You're not filming it in a sense that you think millions of people are going to see this, right? So there's when Victor is filming his wife, there's a tremendous intimacy, the gaze to lens, and vice versa when she's filming him. So there's, you know, it's like, you know, finding this quantity of material was like rooting about in somebody's attic, but it's also incredibly private and intimate.
But then there's also, you know, footage that's shot near African war zones and at arms shows and everything else. So there's this strange dichotomy between
No, it's fascinating because, and I'm going to get to it eventually, but I just don't know if he did it or not, and I'm going to put you guys on the spot to answer that for me. Before I get there, though, what brought you two together to collaborate on this film?
We met at the trial. And also, you know, it wasn't advantageous. I mean, we're friends and we have a shared sense of humor, but it's also...
So you're just one day like, hey, this Victor Boot guy.
We met at the trial, yeah.
Oh, at the trial, got it.
You know, at a trial, there's plenty of time to sit around and talk, and bad food in the cafeteria. You know, we're just trading stories, and our vision for what this could be was very much a shared vision, and realizing that if we combined our talents and our access, that we could make a film that no one else can make.
Right. Okay. And so, what was interesting for me was Victor told the DEA after he got captured in Bangkok that, and it seemed like he was still somewhat in shock, that you guys now hold all the cards.
Yeah.
But then in his rant at the end, he claims his innocence, and I feel like that's a bit of a reveal that he says now you hold all the cards, because it feels if he was innocent right then and knew he was innocent, why would he even offer that up?
He's a very, very smart man, and it's you asked us, did he do it? Did he speak the words? Yes, I can help you. Yes, I'm going to help you get the surface-to-air missiles you need to shoot down Black Hawk helicopters. Yes, he spoke those words. In Russia, speaking those words, what's known as intent, is not a crime.
Right.
Okay. In America, it is. So this film is also about a cultural divide, about a tremendous chasm of misunderstanding.
Right.
Right.
So let's speak about the trial a little bit. I mean, there's a statute there where the judge had to rule for 25 years.
Yep.
That's, again, kind of two systems, and Victor and his family clearly think it's unfair.
Yeah, I mean, because very much one of the interesting things about this case is that Victor was not prosecuted and was not put on trial for anything that he had actually done in the past, none of his work in Africa, none of that. It was just for this single conversation that happened in Thailand. And so for us in the film, what we try to do is we go back repeatedly to this surveillance material, and hopefully the audience comes to understand it in a different light every time, because it's not a question of guilt or innocence. It's a question of what is, about the relationship of international statutes, of legal statutes, and all these things. Listen,
you people need to watch this. This is a great movie. Now, with regard to that fateful trip in Bangkok, it seemed like everybody was telling him, no, don't go, something's bad's going to happen, but his confidence or his ego got in the way. Why do you think he ended up going through with it?
I think he was down on his luck. I think he needed a gig. I think he needed to, I mean, as we learned from his wife, they were borrowing money. The mythology about the guy is that he had $6 billion, right? Which we know is not true.
You see his house, and you see how he lived.
Right.
So.
Maybe over the course of 10, 15 years, that amount of money passed through his bank account. That's conceivable. But he's not sitting on a huge nest egg.
Right.
And this is a dude, if he had money, he would spend it.
Right.
And he was always investing in businesses that weren't necessarily profitable. So at the end, he was growing organic arugula and trying to import reindeer meat to Moscow restaurants and doing all these things. And a lot of times, these businesses weren't very profitable. What's interesting is when he was offered the weapons deal by his old friend, his immediate response was, no, there's a glut in the arms market. Let's go into cashew nuts.
Reindeer meat and cashew nuts. I mean, this
you
guy's
tried?
an incredibly interesting character.
Have you tried the reindeer meat?
No, I have not.
It's very
good
lenient.
for
Very good?
The Scandinavians swear by it.
I got some Danish roots, so now I feel a little bad about myself. Thanks for bringing that up, Maxim. Okay, so tell me a little bit about the DEA and their perspective in this, because it seems like they just wanted to put a face to this arms dealer stuff.
Yeah.
He argues, Victor, in his rant, that they're the biggest arms dealer in the U.S. and that we sell more weapons than anybody else.
Yeah.
And he got really emotional there and didn't think it was fair. And based on everything that you guys set up, it didn't seem very fair.
Yeah. They're not policymakers, ultimately. They're the guys who are sent out to, the bounty hunters, you might say. So they're not the ones who are driving the policy. It would be the U.S. government that's driving the policy to pursue Victor. But that said, what they put into play was a scenario that had been used very effectively just 2 years earlier on an arms trafficker named Manzur El-Kassar, known as the Prince of Marbella, who was a very nefarious character. The exact same scenario involving the same guy, Carlos.
Right.
Two confidential sources posing as FARC rebels in need of weaponry to fight the fight against the government. It's sort of incredible that Victor took the bait. He's a smart man. He reads the newspaper. He knows what's going on in the world, right? That he didn't see this coming. I would think that the FARC, from this point forward, will never, ever be able to engage in any sort of arms deal.
Yeah.
Because multiple times this scenario has played out quite effectively.
Yeah.
And I mean, one of the things that we try to get in the film is that one of the problems is that governments are incredibly complicit in the arms trade. And so they do everything. They go out of their way to make the transfer of arms to unstable zones as easy as possible because arms manufacturers know that for demand for new product, their old product has to go somewhere.
Right.
I think that's one of the larger frameworks that we try to introduce into the film.
It's incredible. The arms deal stuff is fascinating. Now, we got a couple questions from social media. This one is for either one of you guys. What was the most challenging aspect of making this film?
Interesting.
Working through the material and finding the story and trying to set up these two storylines. On the one hand, the film of his life that Victor was making, and then developing a parallel line which would show kind of his public reputation as that was growing, and ultimately there's a point in the film where those two diverge, and wading through hundreds of hours of his home movies and finding.
I couldn't even imagine how tough that was. All right, Tony, this one's for you. What facts did you come across that surprised you the most? That's a good question.
Interesting. What facts? I think the idea that probably less than 5% of Victor's total uplift was weaponry. Right?
Interesting.
So, coming at this story from the myth, which is what everyone knows before you start digging into it, Merchant of Death, Lord of War, right? That probably only 5% was guns. The rest might be frozen chickens, gladiolas, refrigerators, cars, giraffes, elephants. The bottom line is that
so he diversified, is what you were saying.
He had to, man. He was a businessman.
Yeah.
Ultimately, he's not ideologically driven. He's driven by the bottom line, which is keeping his planes full.
Okay. And
He's
final question.
based on planes, yeah.
Final question. Did he do it? Based on all the evidence, was he involved? Does he deserve to be in jail right now?
That depends on where you stand on this notion of intent.
Right.
Right. If a spoken crime is a crime, then yeah, he deserved it. Letter of the law is that he spoke those words. There's no dispute that that was his voice on tape. So if you believe that that should be adjudicated, then yeah, he's guilty.
But I think that there are a lot of obviously factors in this story that make his trial incredibly problematic in terms of international relations, in terms of kind of hypocrisy of governments and all these things. And so
the notorious Mr. Boot, everybody, guys, for this, get some great job trophies.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wow.
Cherish these always.
Thank you. Look at that.
Put 'em up
Training
next.
trophies.
Yes.
Look at that.
I'm not training. You've done it.
real.
It's the official. It's a real deal.
It's a real deal. It's a real great job.
I was hoping we'd get bow ties, man.
That's off camera. We can talk. We can talk a little bit later. Thanks, guys, for joining me on the set. Tony and Maxim. Victor sounds like an incredible character, and I encourage everybody to go and see it when it comes out, or if it's out now, just find it. The wonderful, the notorious Mr. Boot. I added an adjective there for you guys. Okay, up next, we're going to take you to the premiere of Listen Up, Philip, hearing from cast members and even the cinematographer about what it was like to work together on set. Let's check out the video.
I can't believe I got to make this movie with these people. It's insane that anyone trusted me to do this. And if you'd seen my last movie, you would really agree with what I just said. The movie's either complete wish fulfillment or complete disaster preparedness. It just goes back and forth from scene to scene. I don't know, is the movie too honest? Am I like this? I am?
It really was a joy for me to make this film with this group of people. I managed to put the average age up to 34. I've been preparing for this role for 66 years. And everything, when I read the script, I saw this opportunity that all the cynical bitterness I feel about my profession, I could say it.
And we shot the movie in little clumps, and so Elizabeth and I, you guys don't know, that's not call it. Our scenes sort of, like, she worked the first few days, and then we worked for about 2 weeks, and then she was done.
He's so present as an actor, and he's so just interesting, and when he says these things to you, it was very sort of easy to just react with anger or befuddlement or sadness.
A lot of things we didn't rehearse very much, if at all. And you kind of knew that Sean was going to be there with you. He knew, and he confessed to me. What was your confession?
I sort of felt like I had a weird understanding of your timing, and that I could figure out when you would turn your head, but I think you always knew where I was, and
I knew where you were.
We were working together, but it always, we would have these magic sort of connections, I think. But I think it's from watching you so many times.
Sean was literally, like, talk about just, like, being a nut, like, you know, the Seattle Seahawks, when they play, they call the crowd the 12th man. It's sort of like that. Like, Sean would be in the room. He was like an actor playing off what the actors were giving him, and he would, like, follow things and go. It was like a documentary or something, the way he was doing it.
Let's give a final round of applause for the team behind Listen Up, Philip.
This year marks the 20-year anniversary of the Sundance Institute Native American Indigenous, it's a tough one for me to say, Indigenous program and the Native Forum at Sundance. At this year's festival, Native American Indigenous artists have representation in several program categories, including Sydney Freeland's Drunk Town's Finest in the next category, and Taika Waititi's What We Do in the Shadows in the Park City at Midnight category. And here now to talk to these artists is Bird Runningwater, director of the Native American and Indigenous program. Take it away, Bird.
Thank you. Yes. Hi. Where am I looking? Well, hi, my name's Bird Runningwater. This is Taika Waititi. I just said his name so properly.
Thank you.
I'm a big fan of George Taika, so it's cool.
And Sydney Freeland. But we're here this year to kind of represent a special project of the Institutes, which is the Native American and Indigenous program, which has a very special place in Robert Redford's heart since he founded the Institute. And the commitment has really existed since going back, more than 30 years, when Mr. Redford used to support Native filmmakers through his own personal efforts. And out of that effort, the Sundance Institute was born. And this line of work has really existed since then. But formally, we're celebrating 20 years of having a Native forum at the festival and really having Native staff on program at the Institute to really do outreach, to do cultivation. And we've kind of actually gone global to now where we're working in countries like Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Mexico, in the Scandinavian countries of Sami lands up in the very far north. And so it's really exciting. And so I think a big culmination of this work is being able to have Indigenous films that are being played across the festival, like Taika's film, And this year his film is about vampires. And so I don't know if they're
very indigenous.
I don't know if they're indigenous vampires. But Taika, tell us about your film.
Want to?
Okay.
Okay. It's about vampires. You see it? My film's a documentary about vampires, New Zealand-based vampires. It's a very serious film.
It's a social issue film.
A social issue, yeah. And it's just like, basically, it's asking what are the issues facing the undead community in Wellington, and like, you know, moving forward, like, you know, how are you know, creatures like vampires and zombies,
werewolves?
Witches, werewolves, like, you know, what is their place in today's society? You know, like, do they have a place, or are they like marginalized? You know, so it's really just exploring the problems that those communities face.
And it's true, like, you were approached by the New Zealand Documentary Board to make this film, right?
That's right, yeah. We were given $10 million to make this documentary.
Wow.
Which, so it's low budget, and it's, yeah, and it's just an expose on, like, you know, everything undead, yeah.
And so how did you like, when you were being, like, when you had that full access to all the vampires, like, how did you prevent yourself from being bitten?
So the crew would wear crucifixes when we were shooting with the vampires, and as a kind of extra precautionary measure, we would also bathe in holy water just before. What are you laughing at? Stop laughing.
Sorry.
Sorry, I don't know what's going on.
So Sydney, tell us, are there any undead in your film?
There are no undead, unfortunately.
Yeah, okay, cool. But I think your film is really interesting, coming from kind of like a Navajo cultural perspective, where I think you're really pushing an idea out there that a lot of people haven't really thought about before, you know, because your film is really about a coming of age story about 3 different characters who come from 3 different genders. You know, can you talk about that?
Yeah, you know, I thought it was interesting. You know, we had a screening a couple days ago, and somebody came up to me afterwards and they said, like, oh, it's interesting, like, your film isn't so much about Native Americans as much as it's a coming of age story about 3 characters with 3 different genders, a male, a female, and a transgender character. And so I thought that was a really good description of the film.
Yeah. And you had these really great guys, James and Ernie, in your film, who are these Navajo comics. Like, what was it like to work with them? And like, because they're kind of funny.
Yeah. We had these 2 comedians that sort of came onto the film, and they sort of like fill that Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, you know, the 2 kind of side funny characters. And I feel like they brought like a little bit of lightheartedness to a potentially heavy drama, I guess. Yeah.
And both of you have been, like, you participated in the Sundance Institute's Screenwriters Labs, Directors Labs, and like, you've really, like, supported the early development of your projects. Can you guys talk about, like, what that experience was like, and like, who were your favorite people to work with? Taika, you were in it like about 20 years ago, so
yeah, 20 years. So I was there in 1994. When I was there, I had a great experience there because all the advisors, you know, they're really famous people, and they're really nice to you. And so, like, Robert Redford was like, he gave me a massage, and and he said that was like a big part of the process. Yeah. Well, that's what he was saying to me. Yeah. He was like, you know, don't tell, because I don't do this for everybody. He's like, you know, don't let this get out there, but like, you know, this is just between you and me, and I know it's late, but like, this is all part of the process. Okay, this is all part of the learn. Is like this all part of the script process. You know, like what I'm doing is like unlocking, and he also like these the pressure points and stuff that I don't even know I had pressure points in those areas. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, he's like getting right in there. Oh. And yeah, it's like, yeah, it's unlocked a few story things for me. So yeah, that was an incredible experience. But like,
and did he do the same thing for you?
I did not get a massage.
Oh,
no.
that's too bad.
Yeah, it was not for everyone.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you know, like, I think one of the things I wanted to mention is tonight, you know, as part of the festival, you know, we're launching the Native program's 20th anniversary year. So we're having a celebration tonight where we're actually going to be highlighting some of the key alumni who've come through the Native program and the feature film program from, you know, the Indigenous and Native world. We have Chris Eyre, we have Taika, we have Sydney, we have Dana Skule, we have Billy Luther and Heather Ray. And so, they're all going to be reading material that just kind of inspired. Some of them are reading from movies, some of them are reading from the Golden Girls TV show, some of them are reading poems from books, like from pieces from Woody Guthrie. So it's really going to be an intimate, kind of celebratory event about them reading material that inspired them to become artists. So we're excited about that.
Well, thank you, Bird, Sydney, and Taika. Apologize for calling you George Takei a little bit earlier. But it's great to hear how much positivity and progress that the program's made in the last 20 years. So thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
All right, our next video focuses on the many talented women filmmakers at the festival, much like Sydney over here. And the Women at Sundance Brunch is an event designed to level the playing field for women in the entertainment industry through the sharing of experiences, perspectives, and discussion. Let's roll highlights of the festivities.
This initiative, which is a partnership between Women in Film and the Sundance Institute, was designed to end the lack of parity for women in the entertainment businesses. And we already know that at a Sundance level, the amount of women that are submitting films and admitted into the festival is way higher than it is in the so-called real world.
42% of all lab fellows are females at Sundance Institute. That's important. Let's focus on female-directed projects. 16 of 39 are finished. It's the exact same completion rate as their male peers. 41%.
It's empowering to get into a room with women and to be reminded of how capable you are, because sometimes out in the world when you're busy kind of fighting the good fight, you forget to acknowledge what you bring to the table.
When women go through the Sundance labs, they have finished products that get seen, and I think that is probably the most exciting thing I've heard.
I think that's what's crucially important. That's really part of what the Institute can do for women filmmakers is to build a strong, cohesive, and energizing set of people and relationships with individuals and organizations. We couldn't have done it alone.
So friends, let's stand together to support talented women in film with our pocketbooks, with our Twitter accounts, through mobilizing networks. Let's bring whatever resources we have to the collective table. Bring it.
Welcome back. For those of you who are just clicking over to our broadcast, I'm Jimmy Conrad, your new favorite host of all time, and you're watching Live at Sundance. If you want to be a part of the conversation, use the hashtag SundanceAndLive to ask either myself or my guests a question, including this man, Mr. Craig Johnson, the director and co-writer of The Skeleton Twins, a film that follows the reunion of estranged twins Maggie and Milo, played by Kristen Wiig and Bill Hader. Great to have you on the show, Craig, and congrats on being acquired by Lionsgate/Roadside. That definitely deserves, you got it, a great job trophy.
Oh, yeah. This is you're too kind. Thank you.
You want a speech, or you want to thank anybody? You can start with me if you want.
I think this. There are no words.
Okay,
I'm overwhelmed.
Fair enough. All right, let's just get to the questions. Now, tell us about your film. Where did the idea to reunite estranged siblings come from?
Gosh, geez, you'd think I'd have an answer for this. I co-wrote it with Mark Heyman, and we wrote the first draft like 8 years ago when we were still in film school. And it actually started with an idea of a student-teacher relationship, which then actually became more backstory to the movie. And as we sort of built out the characters, there was this brother-sister that we just loved. And the movie quickly became entirely about their relationship.
For the better, I would say.
For the better, absolutely, absolutely. And the backstory just kind of helped to enrich this story about this relationship. And I mean, I have a sister, and we are.
Did you mirror your relationship at all in the writing? Did that come out?
It's not like directly autobiographical at all, but I'm really close to my sister, and yet we're very different people. And the way that we connect is through kind of a barbed sense of humor, and that's very much part of the movie.
Now, the audience reaction has been very, very positive. What do you think it is about the power of sibling connection that excites audiences?
Well, almost everybody has a sibling, you know, and certainly everyone has family. It's like the one thing that's kind of constant in your life, and for better or for worse, you sort of have to deal with it, you know?
I've got 6 siblings, so yeah, I know.
Really?
I'm the oldest of 7.
Holy
What's up, guys?
crap.
They're probably not watching because they don't care about me. But.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, it's sort of instantly relatable because it's the one thing that we all have in common.
So let's talk about your stars. What was it like working with Mil and Kristen, given their background in comedy and the fact that Skeleton Twins is a drama? Because you feel like their instincts are to look for the joke first, to say the joke first. And in this, they definitely pared it down.
Yeah, that wasn't their instincts at all for this. I mean, they knew what they were getting into. They are, I mean, Kristen and Bill are just dreams as actors. They're also wonderful people. But they are actors. They're not just comedians. And I think they were looking to do something that was different. And so they just jumped right into the dramatic elements of it. I didn't have to pull much out of them.
So then would you consider this to be like Jim Carrey's Truman Show or Will Ferrell's Stranger Than Fiction? Like I can prove to everybody that I can act moment for these two?
I'd like to think that, I think that Bridesmaids proves that Kristen can act. I think that's actually a great movie. But yeah, definitely taking a comedic actor and like looking at them in a new sort of light. That's not entirely different from sort of how they are.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the Truman Show I love that movie. Also, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Yeah, very good.
Punch Drunk Love with Adam Sandler. It's a similar sort of vibe.
Okay, so this is your second time directing a feature after True Adolescence. What lessons did you learn from your first feature that applied to making the correct changes, maybe, if you were like something that you thought, I made a mistake in True Adolescence, I'm going to correct that this time around?
I learned that freaking out on set never helps anything. I'm a pretty low-key guy, but I had one like major explosion on the set of True Adolescence, and it felt great, and I still think I was justified. But after I kind of walked, around the block, I just, the sinking feeling came in. I was like, you should not have done that.
So do you go and apologize to the crew after you do something like that?
I did. I went and apologized to the crew, and I sort of said, I'll never, ever, ever do that again. I'll go around the corner and smash and break my own knuckles on a brick wall if I'm frustrated.
Okay, so I actually want to know what prompted you to get so upset. I mean, what was the one thing, if you don't mind sharing?
It's like typical set stuff. There was like somebody flipped out about our schedule, but was like coming to me about it.
Mm-hmm.
And they shouldn't have. They should have gone to somebody else because you don't come usually directly to me because I'm like in an emotional state anyway. So that's why I felt like I was justified, but I still shouldn't have lost my mind like that.
Okay, so now when talking about the script that you co-wrote, did you consciously make an effort to balance the dramatic with the goofy, or was the screenwriting process a little bit more organic?
No, well, we knew that balance was critical.
Right.
The whole thing's organic and intuitive, ultimately. But in the back of our minds was, if we knew that balance wasn't there, the movie would just never work. So.
And how key were your actors in that? I mean, how much input did they have on kind of the structure of the character, or were they just pretty much reading what you guys wrote down?
No, I mean, I talked with both of them quite a bit about it and really, made a point of saying, this is your character now,
Mm-hmm.
And the key to, I think, making comedy and drama work within the same movie is you just have to play it natural and real and human, because life is layered with comedy and drama every day, it's not separated.
Mm-hmm.
And so as long as it was just felt natural, I figured it might work.
Okay, now I got a question from social media. Guys, keep those questions coming using the hashtag Sundance, hashtag live. Are there genres of film you haven't yet directed that you'd like to?
Absolutely. I want to do like a little creatures attack movie like Gremlins.
Sweet.
I want to do a high school movie.
We need a new Breakfast Club. We need
something along those lines. I'd love to do like a sci-fi. I love genre, but I like tweaking genre. I love what Robert Altman did with genre, like McCabe and Mrs. Miller is a Western, but then it's also a weird existential character thing, I love that and would like to do that.
So that if you had to pick one, I think our viewer wants to know exactly what genre that is.
I'd like to do kind of like something that was sort of a horror with a little bit of some comedic elements.
I like where your head's at. Yeah, I'm picking up what you're throwing down,
but
right?
with the emotional characters. So maybe that's not even a genre. Maybe I just made that
just
up.
created a new one. Yeah. All right, this is another one. Do you have any other fun anecdotes from set other than your blow up?
Well, that was in my first movie.
Right. We'll talk about the second one.
The second one.
Because I'm sure Kristen and Bill were.
Fun anecdotes from set. Bill Hader's deathly allergic to peanuts and ate one in the break in the middle of a day when we were shooting, had to go to the hospital. So I don't know how fun that was because we were all freaked out. At the time, he was just fine. But
is that one of those things where he's acting like he's sick and you kind of laughing because it's Bill Hader and you expect him to do
No, he
stuff
did
like
a
that?
take and he just looked like we were talking about the undead. Yeah, that's how he looked. He looked like a zombie. And I thought something's wrong. He was like, I just ate a peanut. I have to go to the hospital. So he did, and it's a scene in the at a climbing wall between him and Luke Wilson. And so actually, when you watch the movie, they were never in the same room at the same time. We shot all of Luke's stuff with just somebody else.
Interesting.
And then shot Bill's stuff later after he came back from the hospital. So that's the little trick.
Tricks of the movie business.
Don't
Well,
tell
Craig, thank
anyone.
you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Congratulations on the film getting picked up.
Thanks so much.
All right,
Thank you.
next, David Cross wrote and directed the comedy Hits. And in this clip from the premiere, we hear from David and the cast as they talk about the many improvisations that went into the film. Check it out.
Please welcome back director David Cross.
All right. Those are people involved with the film. It's not a little off here. All right. Oh, wait, no, they're not. Okay, great. All right. Everyone was encouraged to improvise through every scene. A lot of the think tank stuff, especially the thing in the car. Literally, that scene in the car ended. That was in the beginning. You know, the car recognizes Larson up to him going, I think we should get the hoodies, which is really a few exchanges. That was scripted. Everything else was improvised. And we were crying. We did 3 long takes where we just went for 10 minutes, and they were in the car, so it was like running from behind the monitor going, hey, whatever, running back. Couldn't hear any direction or coaxing or anything.
It was really intimidating just on that. Like, I had to work with Matt Walsh my first day, and I was breaking every 3 seconds. And there's something really horrifying about getting cast in something and not being able to stop laughing. And it was a little intimidating, and I'm going to pass on Mike.
It's always really hard to not laugh when somebody like David Koechner or Bitten is improvising, and it's kind of a fun game. And sometimes you lose and you laugh at him, but people get angry when that happens. So yeah.
I was going to say, I have a fair amount of respect for David, and he has a very caustic wit. So I was slightly intimidated at the beginning of the process, but he was very kind in general and very supportive.
There was one thing where we wanted a song, and I think it was literally like 10 seconds of this song, and they came back and said, yeah, we want $50,000. And we're like, that's most of our budget. We can't. I mean, it's just little things, it's like 10 seconds. It'd be a funny little scene. Like, no, $50,000. Well, we came back offering, I think, $15,000, and they said no, $50,000, and it's for a snippet in the movie, and you're like, you could have had $15,000 for doing nothing. You already did the f***ing work. I'm going to give you $15,000. No, 50. All right, well now you get nothing. Good. It's insane to me.
We're back, and I am honored to be joined by the directing team behind the documentary film E-Team, Ross Kaufman and Katie Chevignet. I'm going to pause the laugh here because I practiced that name, Chevignet, for about, 10 minutes before we went on camera, and then I messed up Ross Kaufman, so that I'm feeling pretty good about myself. The movie itself is the story of specially trained emergency investigators who go to places like Syria and Libya for Human Rights Watch. Ross, Katie, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks.
Okay, so before we get into the meat and intensity of your film, I got some inside scoop. A lot of people had babies during the production of this film.
Yes.
Was there a competition going on between you guys? What was happening there?
I don't know. It was crazy. First Ross didn't actually have the baby. His wife had the baby.
That would have been cool if you did, Ross.
I just realized I'm carrying around diapers.
There you go.
That's what my life has come down to.
I left the diapers at the condo. But Ross's 3-year-old and my 2-year-old are here fighting. So when we started
Were they
making
fighting this morning?
a little bit. When we started making the film, neither of us had
children.
Right.
And then at the end of the film, Ross is a 3-year-old, I have a 2-year-old. All 4 of our characters had babies, so it's 6 babies in 4 years. So it made scheduling things a little tricky.
So now that you've had your babies and you're bringing up this life, which can be tiring at times, as I can see in your face over there, Ross.
Thank you.
Would it change your decision to go over and cover the Human Rights Watch if you had already had kids prior to the start of filming?
Well, I mean, actually, Harry was born either on the first or second day of filming.
I say
in
the
New York.
first.
You say the first, I say the second. And it was very hard. I mean, having kids for all of us, I'm sure, is it makes these decisions much more difficult. But at the same time, you know, the E-Team, they go into these incredible places, war-torn countries, but they go with extra tight security protocol. If I was going to go into any of these kinds of places with anybody, I feel the safest going in with them. With that said, it's still a dangerous place. So yeah, it definitely factors into the decision.
So let's get ahead, or before all that, what attracted you to following people that take these kind of risks, that are crossing the Syrian border? You're running with them with the camera. The people that are taking them, like, hey, once we hit this stop, you got to hit full sprint, otherwise there could be some trouble. Well, I mean, you guys into bungee jumping and skydiving too, or what's
so the film's called E-Team, which stands for Emergencies Team. So it's all emergencies. And so when we first started the movie, we didn't know it was going to be Libya and Syria. We didn't know where it was going to be. We just knew they were going to go someplace, do something important and interesting. And the main thing that attracted us to the project was when we met them. We met Anya, Ula, Fred, and Peter. We had dinner with them. And they were like the stuff of fiction. They were just such incredible people, so fascinating, so different from each other.
But at the same time, they were just low-key and fun to hang out with.
Yeah, and we thought we'd like to spend time with these guys in the field and at home. And then, kind of the way we make movies is if we feel that way, if we feel a conviction about it, then that gives us the seed of feeling like, let's see if we can make a film where viewers feel the same way. Like, I just want to spend more time with these guys. And that's the key to making the film work.
Now, you said that they are different, but they share that common goal of wanting to save the world in some capacity. What makes them so different?
I mean, they're just different kinds of people. Anya's this fiery Russian woman who is, just incredibly tough. Peter is sort of he says what's on his mind, period. There's no filter. Fred is just this nice guy from Brooklyn.
And he's like a meticulous investigator. Like Fred's just like all about the details and making sure everything's right.
And then there's Ule.
Yeah, Ule is Anya's husband. He's a Norwegian, sweet, charismatic guy, but he doesn't have the big personality of his wife. So you see that contrast in the film.
Yin-yang.
Totally yin-yang.
Totally yin-yang.
Yin-yang and a lot of other things.
Well, I saw him working in one scene, or her working in one scene, and he was doing the dishes.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you can just tell she's in charge, is basically what I'm picking up from that. Okay, so now there are plenty of human rights groups doing a lot of great things to bring awareness to the plight of many oppressed people. Why did you decide to focus on the E-Team specifically?
Well, mainly because their work was so extraordinary. Like there is a lot of great human rights work happening around the world. But what the E-Team does is they're specially trained to go into conflict zones and get on the ground as quick as possible, find out what actually happened and assess whether or not a human rights violation occurred. And so we knew that work would be particularly visually dramatic and work for a movie. Because that's our main thinking. It's not just we want to shed light on an issue, but rather we're storytellers and we wanted to find something that would have great characters and great stories. So that was what they offered.
They definitely got 4 great characters. Now, one of the recurring themes that kept popping up in my head was, how can the Army kill their own people? And how can they validate that? Like, even just as a regular human being, how you can go home and sleep at night. And not just kill these people, but torture them and then burn their bodies and all that stuff. It's just so sad. I mean, how do you switch that off after you've seen this firsthand?
I mean, it's interesting going to these places for me behind the camera. I'm just focused on making the film. Katie and I are we're making a film, so it's a weird filter that happens. I often ask myself that about the E-Team members, like how do they go in and out and remain sane? Because they're actually very grounded people. But the truth of the situation is, it's hardest on the people who are in those countries, the people, the victims and the witnesses, and all the people who are stuck in those countries. That's where the real, obviously, issue lies. So.
Now, what happens to the E-Team if Fred, for example, he in 1998 went to Kosovo? What if Milosevic's men came and got him? Does the E-Team have a contingency plan to help save them, or are they just kind of on their own at that point? Because I was always like on the edge of my seat, like what happens if these guys just show up and start blasting and, well, you guys probably wouldn't be here to talk about it.
Well,
but,
the thing, it's funny, we were talking about this yesterday, and Anya's very clear, it's just, they have to be in the public eye. Part of their job is to be on TV, to tell people what's going on. They're not journalists, they're investigators, really.
Right.
But there is a part of their job that has to do with journalism, with getting those stories out. And is there inherent risk? Yeah, but they are pretty clear that they always calculate the risk with the reward. So they're very clear, like, I think they're safe in that respect, but there's always that risk.
Right. Okay, this one comes from social media, and either one of you guys wants to chime in. What was the most frightening aspect of filming?
You want to take that?
What was the most frightening aspect of filming? I think
Airstrike, maybe?
No, I think just hanging out with Danya in the apartment and dealing with him and his homework. He
That's
was
the
very,
teenager,
very
Anya and Lily's teenage son. Yeah.
No, I mean, listen, it's. There were some moments.
Right.
I mean, there were just moments, and you have to see it in the movie. I'm not going to give it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I would say like we had, we as filmmakers also had to make some decisions about how much we wanted to subject the viewers to things that are dangerous and upsetting to watch, and we didn't want to make a film that was so terrifying and so gloom and doom.
You don't want to candy coat it either.
But you don't want to candy coat it, and so that we're always trying to walk that fine line to make something that's watchable, entertaining, dynamic, and also true to the real stories that we captured.
And we also were really clear, we didn't want to make an earnest social issue film. This film has humor in it, it has joy in it, it's got sadness in it, it's got horrible
it definitely
destruction
hits
in it,
all the
but
buttons,
it's all around. So we really just wanted to make an entertaining film. And then in the end, maybe people go on the website and try to do something to create their own awareness or create awareness around them.
Right. Okay, this last one, this is a good way to end with you guys, and I thank you for your time. This comes from social media. What was your biggest take after wrapping this project? What stuck with you the most?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, sometimes we get fed up in our work, you get tired and you're like, what do we do it for? Like, it's no use, or it's too hard, or I'm too tired. And then after seeing these guys, I think it is inspiring where it's like, we're not gonna complain quite so much about how hard and difficult everything is. So, that's just like our personal takeaway is like, you see people this dedicated to doing what they're doing and trying to make a difference. So it's kind of implicates us a little bit, like we can push a little harder sometimes.
Absolutely.
Well, Katie, Ross, you guys deserve Great Job trophy.
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited.
This is the very first trophy for this film.
Is there
That's
like a
great.
special-
Hopefully it's not the last.
We aim to please here at YouTube.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
So yeah, thank you for your time. Good luck with the movie. Everybody at home, please watch E-Team. It's about a fascinating topic, and whether you get it archive or wherever you can find it. Where can we find this right now? Is it anywhere online? You guys are playing here
Not yet.
tonight.
We're
You get another
seeking
screening tonight?
distribution, so
Yeah, we're seeking
stay
distribution.
tuned.
This should get some distribution. I'm just going to say that right now. Thanks, guys. I appreciate
Thanks
it.
a lot.
Next, the Sundance Institute, in partnership with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, recently announced the creation of a new short film challenge whose goal will be to draw attention to poverty and hunger worldwide. Take a look at this video to learn more.
Have you ever thought there could be one person somewhere in the world right now who is another you? Someone born with your same curiosity and personal compass, but located just one hemisphere away. The only thing that separates us is the lottery of where we are born. Somewhere, there is another version of you. Someone who struggles for a healthy and productive life because they live in poverty most of us can't imagine. Sundance Institute, in partnership with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, invites everyday storytellers to join esteemed filmmakers in celebrating our belief that all lives are connected and worthwhile. Together over the next year, we're seeking and presenting daring personal short films from around the world that help bridge these gaps and illuminate solutions to our challenges of hunger and poverty. We seek hope, and we seek it together.
The idea is to support independent storytellers around the world for a project that wants to use the power of independent film to create a global conversation about extreme hunger and poverty and the imaginative solutions that people are taking all over the world. The name of the project is Another You, a Sundance Institute short film challenge. And these first 5 films are launching this project.
Well, I think this is a really exciting opportunity we're taking on issues overcoming global poverty and hunger, right? Like you can barely think of saying that in a sentence, how you even begin to do that.
You have this topic, it's it's replicable solutions to world hunger, but you can take it in any number of different ways.
Even people in very difficult circumstances have ingenious ideas. You know, it's out of adversity that some of the most interesting things come up.
I have to say, one of the most enjoyable parts of this process of making this film, one of the most important was actually sitting down with the family and writing out the story and working with them to tell their story in the most truthful, honest, respectable way.
You know, a story cannot have an agenda. It has to be sort of an emotional journey of someone. That's what a story is for me.
We were trying to figure out, how do we deal with global hunger and poverty, and is there a respectful way to represent people as impoverished, and that people who we see as impoverished aren't kind of these downtrodden, suffering people who need us. They're people who are like us, who are making their lives better every day through hard work, creativity, and diligence.
Sometimes these ideas, poverty, hunger, global inequality, they become so abstract. But when you see it in the lives, in the hands, in the tools, the active working hands of all these people, it brings the question into much more focus, and it brings some level of humanity to the problem.
We have a creative challenge we think you can help solve. In the development community, we think we have a great story to tell. There's epic transformation taking place, with billions of people being provided healthy, productive lives, where in the past, they only had suffering and hopelessness. But this story isn't getting out. We don't tell it well enough. We don't tell in the right places. Audiences are distracted by things nearby or that they can relate to more easily. And if we tell the story, it's possible to galvanize the resources, to get the volunteers, to improve the lives of billions more.
Thanks for watching Live at Sundance. I'm your host, Jimmy Conrad, and for my last guest today, I have the pleasure of being joined by the Zellner brothers, David and Nathan. What's up, guys?
Hello. Hello.
I like the energy from you guys. Your energy is really good. I'm feeding off of that. Now, I didn't think anybody was going to one-up me in what I'm wearing today, but Nathan over here just brought his A game with an owl sweater.
It's my normal wear.
If I had another great job trophy, I would have given it to you. So, guys, let's talk about your movie, Kimiko the Treasure Hunter. When I think about the title, it's like a mix of Zelda and Street Fighter. Is that something you had in mind when you were thinking about it?
That sounds good. We'll take that.
Will this be a video game in the future is where I'm trying to go.
We would love it.
That would be
an
an awesome
great.
video game. If somebody could contact us about that, we'd be very interested. So
I know you guys are listening out there. Hashtag Sundance, hashtag live, and let us know. Make this a video game. Okay, so this film is about a Japanese woman, an urban legend about a Japanese woman who took a journey searching for treasure. Where did you come across that story, and how closely does it match with your film?
The story first came out in 2001, and this was before the days of Twitter and Facebook and everything. So it was, in terms of like sharing information, it was mostly on message boards, and it was very minimal. It's simply just Japanese woman goes to America searching for this mythical fortune, and that was really fascinating to us because it seems like such an antiquated notion. It seems something from the age of exploration with conquistadors, looking for gold in America or something. And so that was something that we were just like the mystery of it, and that really fascinated us. So that just led us to kind of take that urban legend and fill in the gaps and create our own version of it.
Now, Kimiko isn't the traditional definition of a hero. She's lonely, she's isolated. Tell me about those decisions and why you put her in those situations.
Well, we liked the idea. We didn't want her to. From the urban legend, it was a woman, but we liked the idea of kind of taking what would like this is a quest film in a certain way, and it would normally be like heroic, tough guy, and we liked making it more fleshed out, instead of just some like caricature. We wanted a fully fleshed out individual with modern day real world problems that kind of fuel her quest.
Mm-hmm. Now she, or the red hoodie, a lot has been made about this red hoodie that she wears in the film. Can you tell us about that and what it symbolizes?
It doesn't really symbolize anything. But we do like, it was more of a
artistic decision. We kind of like the way, when we went over to Japan, we noticed that people over there tended to wear a lot of dark colors, a lot of blacks and grays, and we wanted to make her stand out from the crowd in her own way. So we added that little bit of color there, and then when she gets to Minnesota, it's a neat thing that pops against us.
Which aesthetically, it was just very pleasing. The red contrasting either people with without red or the snowy landscapes.
How much time did you spend studying the Japanese woman and just her movements even? And I mean, how specific did you get?
Well, we tried to do as much homework as we could on our end, being white guys from Texas. And then and then when we went to Japan, we had a great team there that helped. We wanted it to have some essence of truth to it, so we were then people helped us out once we were over there, and then the star Rinko Kikuchi brought so much to the role, and just the subtleties of her character, and all the way from just the physicality of her to the wardrobe and everything. Well,
how much input did she get then on the decisions, or do you guid? I'm always fascinated about the writing versus the acting.
We had a very distinct idea, and then fortunately, she just we're on the same page right away. She had similar tastes, so it was it was a really fun collaboration, and she brought a lot of cool ideas to the table, and they all kind of gelled with what we were doing. So
yeah, she came up with a lot of good mannerisms, and then also she helped us a ton with that whole culture stuff, and things that
subtleties,
exactly. And like a lot of the relationship with her mother was fleshed out in discussing what the dynamic might be and so forth. So yeah, she brought a lot to the table, and it was good.
So how does this film use the idea of movies to inspire people to pursue different things in their lives? I mean, I felt like it was a really big thing, or the main theme throughout the film.
Well, we just like the idea of I don't know. I mean, really, we want people to take away from it whatever they want. But in terms of what interested us, we just like the idea. As anyone that's really passionate about something and perseveres, it's incredibly inspiring. Whether it's about something that you believe in or that interests you, is kind of secondary to us. I think just just because it's so rare to see such relentless passion, even if it is misguided in some ways. It was it made for a
That's what I thought when I put this
story
suit
to
on,
us.
but yeah. All right, we got a couple questions from social media. This is for you, David. What about Kimiko's character makes her relatable to people of all cultures?
Well, I just think because it deals with just the universal themes of finding one's place and loneliness and isolation, which are parts of the human condition, regardless of where your social or economic place in the world. So.
Well said. Okay, this one's for you, Nathan. There seems to be a lack of female heroes, if you will, in film. Why did you choose to have a female at the center of your film?
We thought, that was what kind of drew us to the legend in part was, you hear a lot of these treasure hunt type stories or like Greek mythology or quests, and it's mostly male centric, or there's always the story of the hero being male and saving a damsel or something like that, and it's something that we haven't really seen a lot of in film, is the other side of that, like a female kind of facing the same obstacles and challenges, and kind of that determination, perseverance. Like it seems, a much more interesting character that seems, it's a little bit fresh for us.
Mm-hmm.
So and
hopefully fresh for the audience.
Hopefully, yeah.
So, well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. From what I understand, you guys are legends of Sundance, so it's a real
very
honor.
good to us.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank
Good
you very
luck
much.
with the film.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I hope distribution is coming your way. And video games. Video games, everybody. Well, unfortunately, that is all the time and shenanigans we've planned for today from Live at Sundance. My sincere thanks to our guests that took some time out of their busy schedules to come out and chat with us. To our sponsors, YouTube, Weber Shandwick, Canon, HP, Adobe Creative Cloud, for giving me this opportunity to brainwash the masses while wearing a tuxedo. So please come back and join me tomorrow at 11 a.m. Mountain Time when I get to pick the brains of, among others, Todd Miller, the director and producer of Dinosaur 13, and the writer/director of Internet's Own Boy, The Story of Aaron Swartz, Mr. Brian Knappenberger. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'll see you then.